Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And today we've got Travis Ketchum of Contest Domination on the podcast. And of course, I have my co-host Perrin with me. Perrin, how you doing over there in Chicago today?
I'm cold, but I'm happy.
Awesome. That's good. He's surviving there. Travis, welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast.
Thanks. Really appreciate being here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You know, I was looking at our previous podcast, and I don't think we've had a single person even talk about doing contests, period, on any of the shows. So I think all of this content is going to be new and fresh and hopefully really useful for our audience. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. You know, we always like to break new ground. So.
Yep, absolutely. And, of course, we're going to talk about your site and your product, Contest Domination. But before we do that, we want to get to know you just a little bit. Can you give us a brief summary of your background and particularly your entrepreneurial background?
Sure. So, I mean, you know, I was the kind of kid, like most people that end up being entrepreneurs, you know, that was always hustling to wash cars, mow yards, deliver papers. I was, you know, buying soda in bulk at the grocery store and then reselling it in the ferry line. I mean, any opportunity I had to make some money in the marketplace, that was just sort of my personality from the get-go. My first official business, though, was, you know, when I was 18 in high school, I started a small computer company. Ended up doing a bunch of drop shipping on eBay, which worked out great for a while until everyone else caught on to the fact that there was a little niche there that people could make money on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that, you know, that quickly devours profit margins. But I was fortunate enough to make enough money over a few months to mostly finance my college degree. So I, you know, paid most of my own way through Washington State University, went and got a marketing degree and had various, you know, trial and error at, you know, small side businesses, you know, some charity shopping sites, things like that. I was always interested in, you know, an entrepreneurial aspect, but nothing really sort of took off. And once I graduated from college, you know, I went out and, you know, did the thing and got a normal quote unquote, you know, cubicle job and, you know, decent pay and benefits and all the things that we're always told we're supposed to go get after we get a degree. But it only took me about 9 months to just get such a deep itch, you know, the entrepreneurial itch, and just like, I have to go do something else.
Yep.
And so I went ahead and pretty much said, whatever I need to do to get myself in a position to be entrepreneurial, I need to do it. So I went out after quitting my job. I worked with some speakers, authors, coaches, and I was, you know, managing their affiliate program. I was doing ad buys for them and helping them generate large lists and generate lots of value. And then realize, hey, this is kind of crazy. Why am I just doing this for someone else? I don't really have much of an email list myself.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, the typical shoemaker's kids has no shoes, right? So here I was. Yes, I was being entrepreneurial. Yes, I was doing client work. And yes, it was more fulfilling than my cubicle job. But at the same stretch, I was still sort of just working for someone else.
Right.
Just under a different form factor. And I didn't like that. Mm-hmm. So my goal was to go out and find a way to build because I knew from everything I had done that your email list was one of the only true assets you had in building your business online. And so I needed to find a way to build as big of a list as possible in as short a period of time as possible. And so I was looking at what got the attention of people in the marketplace and what kind of got you away from, you know, 5-10 leads a day to 200 leads a day, 2,000 leads a day, you know, just really exponential growth. And the answer to that was contests. But as I looked at all of the tools in the marketplace, I didn't really like the fact that most of them rewarded the act of sharing as opposed to the actual referral action, right? So the incentive wasn't in line with my business goals of getting more leads. And so I just went out and scrounged together some money, put a few $1,000s on a credit card, and hired a developer to make the first version, the first little WordPress plugin. And not only did it work for myself, but and build us a list of several thousand people in a week. But then I was able to turn around and sell that product in that's where we are today, essentially.
That's awesome. And of course, yeah, the product has evolved a lot from there, and we can talk about that. But I love how the idea for the business came from your own problem, that, you were looking around seeing, well, what can I do to be as successful as possible, as quickly as possible, and out of that need sort of evolved your own business that you're still running today. How long have you been running Contest Domination now, and can you give us any idea of the type of financial success that you're having? Just whatever you're willing to share there.
Sure. So, obviously it's come a very long way since the original little WordPress plugin. We actually don't even offer a WordPress plugin at all now. We're a fully hosted software as a service application, because that allowed us the ability to be as robust as possible and do features you just can't do in WordPress, and give a level of support that I thought was superior, in the fact that there's not 1,000 different WordPress environments that you're trying to code against. But we've been doing it now for it'll be 3 years in April, so about 2.5 years, a little longer than that. And we have about 20,000 customers, obviously at varying price points. But if you combine all the different versions together, we've grossed about $1 million so far in sales, top line sales. So to go from, like I said, a small little WordPress plugin where I had to put $4,000 of the original $7,500 on my own personal credit card to see if it would even work, and sort of do a Hail Mary pass and see, hey, is there legs on this thing, to generating, roughly $1 million in sales in a few years, is a pretty dramatic transformation.
Yeah, and that's awesome. It has to feel really good going from being frustrated in a cubicle, wanting out, to kind of looking back on that now and, clearly having the successful business that you have. I know I feel the same way all the time with my own business, kind of looking back when I was in a cubicle and just being so grateful every day that I am no longer there.
Definitely. And a big part of it for me too is honestly, some products can get to, $10,000, $20,000, even $100,000 in sales and not necessarily be a great product. They can be an okay product, but not a great product. And for us to break through that ceiling, we are getting the kind of feedback from our customers that makes us happy beyond the finances, which is we're providing real value and people are coming back and subscribing again, over multiple years now, and deciding that we're valuable enough to pay for us again. So that's a huge win for us.
Yeah, it is a huge win, and I actually want to ask about some of the success that your clients are having. As you mentioned, they're happy, they're coming back, they're obviously seeing results from using your software. Do you have any big success stories or case studies from your clients that you can share, just to give us an idea of how many leads or the type of buzz that a contest can generate?
Sure. So if you don't mind, I'd like to give you two examples, because
Sure.
we have a really large diversity of customers. And at first blush, you might think, okay, well, their strategy must be completely different, from a solo entrepreneur, that sells physical products online, to a large community-based site, right? And and you may think that the results are drastically different, their formula is different. What we've actually found is that the formula is pretty constant. And essentially, here's the formula, and I'll give you the two drastic different examples and why they were both successful. So the formula is, obviously as a contest, you're giving something away. And the really fundamental key thing here is that whatever that thing is that you're giving away needs to be related to what you do and sell. And this is important for a couple reasons. I mean, first of all, you need it to be attractive, right? But more importantly is you need everyone who enters that contest to basically be pre-qualifying themselves and having raised their hand and saying, I want what you do and sell, without them realizing that they're saying, I want what you do and sell, right?
Right, that makes sense.
And it's much more powerful than just a free opt-in for a white paper or anything like that, because you're able to, since you're only giving away one or a small number of these prizes, you're able to leverage that high value item to get a lot of people excited, a lot of people to submit their information, but only have the financial outlay of fulfilling a few of those prizes. Additionally, that prize centers the qualification for all those referrals as well. So, a lot of people fall into this trap of wanting to give away something shiny. And I always say this to people, it's like, if you walk down the street and just cornered 10 people and, they had to make a decision on what to give away in a contest, or, something bad was going to happen, I can pretty much guarantee you that at least 90% of them are going to say, oh, I'm giving away an iPad. But the problem is while that will get a lot of people to enter their name and email, unless you sell iPads or something, or an iOS app or something very, very in line with that, that does absolutely nothing to get that person excited or, indicate that they have any interest at all in your core business. So an example of this that worked really well was one of our solo entrepreneurs. She actually gave away a ribbon printer. And I know a lot of people kind of think like, wait, what's a ribbon printer? So you think about, like when you go to events, there's a little piece of ribbon sometimes at the bottom of your name tag, or, people are in a race, there's, first place ribbon, second place ribbon, that kind of thing. And this is such a niche product that by her giving it away, only people who either understand what a ribbon printer is and the need for that are going to enter, or people who have now learned about it and are actually thinking about ways that they can implement it in their business or in their craft scenario or for their events that they do. And I can pretty much guarantee you anyone who enters a contest for a ribbon printer is actually genuinely interested in a ribbon printer, right?
Right.
If she had given away an iPad, she would have gotten tens of thousands of people to enter, but her conversion rate would have been extremely poor. Now, in that scenario, since it is so niche, she actually only got 300 people to enter her contest the first time she did it. But what's great is, it was actually 310 people. And so she gave away one of these ribbon printers, which is, lists retail for about $1,000. So it's not chump change for a prize. But as soon as she gave that away, she had 309 hyper qualified people that just told her they want exactly her niche product.
Right.
And so she was able to follow up that contest after just a few weeks with a special offer positioned as a thank you, so that, quote, everybody wins, with a 72-hour discount on the same ribbon printer she just gave away. And she was able to immediately generate almost $6,000 in sales. And then now, she's done this contest several times. Each time it generates between $5,000 and $7,000 in immediate revenue in that 72-hour promotion. But she's only done that 3 times. And then when you combine the additional sales from leads that explicitly came from that lead source, she's generated close to $35,000 in revenue off of roughly 1,200 or 12 or 1,300 unique leads.
That's awesome.
So if you think about how niche she is, and she's only spending a couple $100 in Facebook ads each time. So we're not talking grandiose. She's not giving away a car. She's not spending $100,000 in ads. She's spending a couple $100 in ads. She's giving away the product she already sells, and she's generated, over roughly $35,000 in sales by repeating this process 3 times over. So, I really love that because, some people are out there and they're like, I have this really funky thing to give away. But that can actually work to your advantage because everyone who enters for a contest like that is explicitly said, I want that. And then it gives them an opportunity to think about how they could use it in their life and how they could benefit if they do win, so that when they don't, when most of them inevitably don't, they're in the perfect position for you to tip them over the edge with a special promotion or something like that.
Yeah. So just to kind of repeat what you've said here, basically, of huge importance when you're running a contest is to make sure that you just don't have leads, but that you have qualified leads. So you want to make sure to target your prize, your giveaway, to something that probably only your audience or only people that you would want as a lead would be interested in. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I'm sure you're exactly right. Tons of people, they want to give away an iPad or just a cash prize or, something that the general public maybe is interested in, but isn't niche enough to really generate the type of qualified leads that you need for your business.
Right. Because at the end of the day, if your leads aren't generating sales, what's the point as a business?
Exactly.
It's like anything other than that is just a vanity number. It's like people obsess about the number of Facebook likes they have or something, right? And that's so not correlated to the financial success of a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you had one other sort of case study that you wanted to share?
Yeah. So the other one I want to show is, someone whose goal was to build a big community. They didn't want to spend a lot of money in ads, and they had a really clever, creative way to knock out of the park. So this community has two sides. The company is called Snapnut, and what they do is they have a directory of photographers all across the country who shoot wedding photography or engagement photos or things of that nature. And the other side of their marketplace is brides looking for photographers. Now, they wanted to really build up the database of available photographers, because if you're a bride-to-be or someone in that marketplace and you go to try to find a photographer and there's no one in the Seattle area, you're just going to write off the service, right? So you have to have service providers. That's a huge component for their community to be successful. So I thought, okay, how can we attract photographers to build up a massive base of photographers who are interested in high-end photography stuff, and then let them know about our service later. And what they decided to do is they decided to give away a high-end DSLR camera, but they did a couple things that were really clever about it. First of all is they didn't just pick one model and say, hey, this is the camera we're giving away. They actually, if you know any photographers, it's sort of a religion when it comes to the brand of camera you use. So Nikon shooters are Nikon shooters and probably have been for years, or their parents were, because the lenses haven't changed in the way that they bolt in. And same with Canon, etc. So they said, hey, we're giving away a really nice camera. The winner will get to choose between a high-end Nikon or a high-end Canon. Which one would you like to win? And additionally, they gave people a drop down. So on top of asking for name and email, they gave them a little drop down that said, what level of photographer are you? Are you amateur, semi-pro, pro, or pro wedding? So this did two things. A, by having some of that brand, adversity, for lack of a better word, they got people to really get sort of really into it on their Facebook promotion about which camera they thought was best and why. And that's an endless sort of war between those two people, but it gave the campaign a ridiculous amount of free exposure. The second thing that they did with the drop down is that helped them segment their audience into all different types of photographers, and so that they could tailor the information for their brand and what was important to them specifically to people who indicated by themselves that they are professional wedding photographers. And then to help generate an immense amount of reach for this campaign, I mean, they bought a few Facebook ads, but it wasn't a lot. But what they did that was really excellent was they worked with a few sponsors that were also in the photography community, but not direct competitors to what their service was. And what they did is they made a deal with them, which was, hey, we'll list you as a sponsor. And in our software in particular, sponsors get a like button and a Twitter follow button on the final social sharing page so that they can accumulate likes and follows. And I said, hey, we'll list you there. Everyone who signs up, we'll let them know, hey, make sure to thank our sponsors. We'll link to your site. And then on the final winner announcement page, we'll put a special link to any special offer you want us to link to for your community. And so the theory there was a rising tide floats all boats. In return, those sponsors emailed about the contest. They shared the contest on their Facebook walls, etc. And so by spending very little money on ads, they actually generated almost 190,000 email entries.
Whoa. With
over 55% of that coming from referral.
Awesome.
And when they did spend money on Facebook ads, because of the viral nature of people competing about which brand they thought was better, they were getting leads for 2 and 4 cents per lead that were targeted professional photographers. So, and they've repeated this multiple times, and now they've generated well in excess of 600,000 leads.
Holy cow!
Of professional photographers when they had, a pretty modest initial email list to start with, and they've spent very little on Facebook ads. And so this gave them an opportunity to essentially, in it's been now about 3.5, 4 months since they started this strategy. And so sort of out of nowhere, and by rallying with all of the other brands in the community, and by picking the right prize and asking the right adversity questions, they sort of just single-handedly sucked down the entire professional photographer market.
Wow. So in 3 to 4 months, they've generated over 500,000 emails or leads, essentially?
Absolutely.
Wow.
They've gone through and scrubbed that down to the most active leads because they don't want to pay for 500,000 or 600,000. But that means they still have several 100,000 highly engaged, highly qualified leads that are directly interested in their marketplace. Not to mention now when they go to sponsors or they want to make a deal with somebody, they have leverage because they have this exactly targeted community on their email list that they can drive tens of thousands of clicks of photographers into one direction or another. So it's an immensely powerful tool for them, not only for their own products and services, but if they're trying to broker a deal with someone else to have that new community promote their offer directly, they can say, hey, as a reciprocal thing, we can do some content-based stuff here, and we can promote your products and services to our hundreds of thousands of professional photographers. And that's just such a huge asset to have in their arsenal when they've really spent very, very little in terms of Facebook ads or anything of that nature.
So give us an idea of that incredible, mind-boggling success compared to the typical success of the average users campaign.
Yeah, so obviously, that's a huge outlier, right? To generate over 500,000 leads is, results not typical, right? But if we go back to that first example that I gave you, where they were able to generate just over 300 leads, they still had a direct quantifiable ROI that was still pretty massive. And so, we try to tell people that, again, it's not about the volume of leads necessarily, right? In the case of the photographer community, it was because they had to sort of grab the attention of everybody, just the way that their product and service works. But for most small business owners or most, small businesses in general, you don't need even 2,000 leads if they're the right leads. And so if you look at giving away something that you do and sell yourself, and you spend just a few $100s in Facebook ads, if you can generate a couple hundred leads to 1,000 or more that are actually genuinely interested in what you can do and sell, I think you'll find that the results will be more than what most people expect in terms of actual sales.
Sure. And do most people use Facebook ads as a way to start getting visibility for their contests?
It is a popular method, especially for the prizes, like I said, the camera, where you can have this discussion of which brand is better and why, and get people to talk about and sort of obsess about the prize. Now, obviously, depending on your business, right, your ideal prospect may be in one area or another. For a lot of people, Facebook works because they can usually get leads for at least $1 or less. What it sort of boils down to. Usually 50 cents, 75 cents is pretty common. And the targeting is there, and then especially for small businesses, that geo targeting is a pretty big feature for them as well. So the ability for people to talk about your prize on the front end, and because you can just say, what would you do if you won, and you'd be surprised when people will organically post a comment saying, I would do XYZ with this awesome prize if I won. And then they start planting seeds in the minds of your ideal prospects. And if that's the sort of native content you're promoting, that tends to do pretty well on Facebook, which is why it seems to be a sort of fan favorite.
Sure, yeah. And, I don't think a lot of people really understand how cheap that is. 50 cents for a lead on Facebook. I know, and even cheaper, it sounds like sometimes for a really good campaign. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been dinking around on Facebook and trying to get some leads, and we are having trouble getting clicks for less than 50 cents, and it takes a lot of experimentation and money to find an ad that really works. So This sounds like it's a lot more efficient than what other people might be doing, as sort of an industry best practice outside of contests.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing is our average conversion rate across the board, for even including the amazing campaigns and including the total belly flops, is about half of the people who see a contest will enter their information. And then the great part is we've designed essentially a viral funnel, right? So there's a couple different pages and a few different steps once someone enters that incentivizes them to refer their friends to increase their chance of winning that prize. And when you take those components and put them in place, all of a sudden, when you take the virality into account, for every 100 clicks you send the campaign, it won't just collect 50 leads. Because of the virality, it usually adds about another 25 leads on top of that initial. So that means the net result is if you send 100 clicks to a decent campaign, you can, on average, you can expect close to 75 leads in your system, which is, unheard of. And in some cases, in the case of like the camera contest, they were actually, because it was viral enough, they were actually, for every 100 clicks they would send, they would actually get, 130, 140 leads. So it is possible to get these just obscene returns on the amount of leads that are flowing into your system.
All right. So what I'd like to do to maybe even make the whole process a little bit clearer, if it's okay, I'd like to kind of take my own business as an example, and maybe we can kind of work through how an entire contest would work from beginning to end, for example. So let's say, my business is Longtail Pro. Let's say that I want to give away a lifetime license to my platinum version. Usually people are paying monthly for that. Let's say the prize is, a lifetime license. I would think that's a good targeted sort of thing. If people are interested in a lifetime license of Longtail Pro, that's definitely the kind of lead that I want. So how would I go about, launching this contest? I already have a fairly large email list. Do I just start there? Do I kind of create a page? Where do I put that page? Where does the contest live? And how do I launch that initially? Do I do it to my own email list, or what do you think?
Great questions. So as far as where the page lives, since we are a hosted app, we actually host all of the pages for you.
Okay.
And it's as simple as filling in some text areas, and we guide you through the whole process, with the idea being that you're going to hopefully only spend half an hour or so filling out questions and configuring your contest. But once you're ready, you just hit one button. It's like, boom, enable the contest, and the contest is live. You can optionally also install that same page into a Facebook tab, although there's less and less reasons every month why you should necessarily do that. But it is an option if you decided to.
Okay.
And you tell our system how many winners there should be. If there's additional sponsors, we help you build the rules. So, you can just stick in your name, your business name, a contact email, that kind of stuff. And then we give you this pre-built set of rules that you can then modify to your liking. But that saves hours of time
right
in the process. And then, once you have this page live that can accept entries and it has all the referral mechanisms in place for you, pre-populated, ready to go, then a great way to kick it off is to send to your own list. And some people may say, well, that's my audience. Why would I want to go ahead and give them something? Why would I want to give something away to them? And a pretty phenomenal thing happens when you give something away to your own audience, because they're usually your best brand ambassadors anyway. And even if they're an existing customer, what we found is when our customers email their own list about their own product that they're giving away, depending on the saturation level, of course, of how many of the people on their list own the product, is that a lot of people will go out and either be reinterested and re-engaged in the product when all of your other autoresponder campaigns didn't catch their attention. If they're already owners, they may be sharing the contest strictly because they say, hey, I've been using Longtail Pro for 2 years, and it's made a huge impact on my business. You'd be crazy not to enter this contest.
Right.
So that means that all of those referrals are the warmest you could ever hope for, because it's not an ad of you saying how cool your software is. It's an organic ad from one of your customers telling their friends how great your product is. An example of this is Mixergy actually did something very similar to this, and they gave away a lifetime access to Mixergy Premium.
Right.
And what we saw people doing is they were posting and saying things like, I've been following Andrew Warner for 5 years, and I never post about anything, but if you miss the opportunity to get this kind of training from these kind of entrepreneurs, you're outside of your mind. or we'd have people post, hey, I couldn't wait to find out if I won. I went ahead and bought a copy anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I didn't think about that. For people that already own the product, they're still going to either, even if they don't enter the competition, they're going to mention the competition to sort of spread the word as well. So that's an interesting point for sure.
I mean, if you've bought something that you really, really, really love,
right,
and then that brand decides to give it away, and you're already enthusiastic about it, it's no longer you telling your friends, hey, go spend a couple $100 on this thing that I think is cool. It's, hey, dummy, here's an opportunity to go get it for free.
Yeah.
I paid and I love it, and you can potentially get it for free. You'd be crazy to pass up this opportunity, right? And so you're just going to get some of that, some of it organically on the front end. Some people will still enter and say, hey, if I do win, even though I already bought it, maybe I'll give the copy to a friend that I've been trying to convince to get it for years, right? But they've been too cheap or haven't paid attention or didn't think I was serious.
Yeah, and so let's maybe carry this forward as far as, okay, so we got it launched, and if you do have an email list, certainly send that announcement out to your email list to start generating some initial buzz that way. And then, of course, you mentioned some Facebook ads, of course, that we could do that as well. But what other steps are maybe common or advised to announce or spread the word about the contest even a little more?
Sure. So, I mean, we've seen people, I think press releases are a waste of time, but, some people find success with them, some don't. But a great way would be to say, okay, well, now that we're doing this big push, right, if we're giving away this product for a month or whatever, maybe now's the time to really double down on trying to guest post places and share some useful, content marketing about SEO, and making sure that, at the end of it, in the little snippet, it says, by the way, we're giving away a copy of Longtail Pro. Click here to enter to win. And so that way, you're taking that top of funnel type person, making it a no-brainer reason for them to get on your email list and start to be indoctrinated about what your product is,
right,
and how to drive, how to actually generate SEO results.
Mm-hmm. And to actually take a step back a little bit for how the contest actually works. You mentioned kind of setting up the rules, and I assume what you mean by that is that there's different maybe point values associated with whether you tweet out the contest or like it on Facebook or enter your email address. Is that kind of the maybe 3 common ways that people can either enter or earn points, if that's what you call it?
Sure. So, we call them entries, we call them points.
Okay.
Those words are interchangeable. The default rules, or the default number of points, is if someone enters their own name and email, they get 1 entry into the contest. Then they have an opportunity to invite friends via email or to share it on their social networks. Now, when they share it on the social networks, the actual act of sharing itself does not give them additional entries. It's when their friends click that link and then actually enter the contest, does it then credit the initial person who shared it. And that was the core thing that no one else had at the time when I originally created the first version of Contest Domination. And that was the thing that I wanted to focus on the most for several reasons, because most of the platforms at the time would give you, 10 points if you tweet it, 10 points if you share it on Facebook, 10 points if you like our brand on Facebook, right? And what I found is 2 things. One is a share on Facebook, a referral via email, and a share on Twitter are all drastically different values for how many leads will actually result for your business. And treating them as equals didn't make sense to me. In fact, to give you an example, when people use our email referral tool, we see that traffic converting at a crazy 70%. When people share on Facebook, we see it usually between 30 and 40% of people who click from a Facebook share will enter, whereas Twitter is only 1%. And that doesn't mean that Twitter is meaningless. It just means that its value is different than the other two.
Sure.
Secondly is if someone came in and they can get the same 10 points for sharing on Twitter to a dead Twitter account as, Ashton Kutcher could get for sharing on his Twitter account, that didn't accurately compensate the influence that someone was giving you for your campaign from their social profiles. So while we encourage most people to still do the random drawing based on entries, which means the little guy can still win, we wanted to adequately compensate, in a matter of speaking, those who did have the ability to actually influence the outcome of your campaign, because that would incentivize them properly to maybe, we've seen people actually enter a contest and then send that link out to their own email list or share it on their large Facebook fan pages because they actually get points every time someone enters as opposed to just sharing it once, right? Why would I share it on my main page and potentially, irritate some people or get some unsubscribes on an email list if there's no additional point value there? And so that we were really focused on referral points for actually getting people to enter the contest. That's huge with us. So there is no cap on the number of entries someone could earn because we want them to get creative and send qualified traffic to you that's actually going to enter the contest.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and that's good to clarify that as well. As far as a time frame for how long a contest typically runs, is there some standards there?
Yeah, so it often comes down to how long can you send new qualified traffic to a contest, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can't keep sending new fresh traffic, it's like any offer, it will, it'll sort of not flame out, but the response will go down over time.
Sure.
If you're just hammering the same people with it over and over. So for most small businesses that don't have a big ad budget and don't necessarily have the time or energy in some cases to go out and do a ton of guest posting and do a really massive push behind it, if someone just wants to do sort of a simple contest and they want to spend maybe a couple $100 in Facebook ads, we usually tell them 2 to 4 weeks is kind of a good sweet spot.
Okay.
Because that's long enough for your initial traffic to enter, for them to share, right? Because there's going to be a delay between that share traffic actually coming to your site. So you sort of see like a double wave, right? So you see your first wave of traffic coming in and maybe emailing your own list and the first initial Facebook ads. Then you see a second smaller wave of referral people coming in. And then 2 to 4 weeks is still short enough where no one's going to really forget about your contest. And you can keep them excited and engaged. You can email them a few times saying, hey, there's only a week left. Make sure you're sharing to increase your entries. Hey, there's only 48 hours left. Make sure you're sharing, to increase your entries. And then that also gives them enough time, though. It's not like a 24-hour contest. They can be thinking about ways that they could benefit from the prize, which hopefully is very, very similar to your own product. So that when it comes time to announce that winner, it's fresh in their mind about all the creative ways they've been thinking about how they would use this cool prize if they won, which helps them sort of sell themselves when you do a special offer following that contest, which says, okay, I should go ahead and pull the trigger because it's a good deal.
Yep, that makes sense. And so as far as the special offer, which I think is genius, that I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I've never done this whole contest thing and then done the special offer. I've got a lot of ideas now of what I could do. But so once the contest ends, when would you recommend sort of launching that special offer to your list after that?
So, I always advise people to actually couple the special offer with your winner announcement page. And so,
okay,
the way we try to get people to structure it is just in an email that goes something like this. The subject line can say, and the winner is ... And then in the email, you can say, thank you so much for the overwhelming response, for our contest. We had a ton of people enter, and obviously it needs to be true, but oftentimes people will have replied to your email, your autoresponder saying, hey, I hope I win, things like that. And you can say, we're really excited to announce who actually won. Click here to find out if you're the winner.
Okay.
And that drives them to a page where you can, use the medium that's comfortable for you. If it's a video of you, great. If it's just a longer form blog post or something where you can say, hey, great. Here's the winner. Here's what they won. Here's the benefits of the thing that they won. But we wanted to make sure that everyone's a winner. And so only for the people who entered our contest, we wanted to extend a special thank you and give you an exclusive discount for 72 hours where you can pick up either the same thing or some form of that thing that you actually sell. And you give them a special little buy link to buy at a discount.
Yeah, no, I think those are some great marketing tips, and the fact that you're making it exclusive to those who entered the contest, it does make them at least feel like, them entering the contest was useful. They have a potential benefit there, and they're qualified leads. So, I mean, yeah, I'm honest that I'm excited about doing a contest now, and that there's a lot of potential for generating new leads. So,
yeah. I was going to ask, how do you think market affects this whole thing? Because I feel like some markets might be more receptive to something like a contest than others. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I think it has more to do with the type of person and the type of transaction that you need to take place to generate revenue. For instance, we've seen it work, but it's much more difficult and requires a lot more creativity in, say, a B2B marketplace. So, if it's, selling business services to other businesses that aren't solo entrepreneurs, that's a more difficult nut to crack. Like, for instance, if you need to, if you're a software company that needs to only sell to chief marketing officers, right? That's obviously going to make it very difficult for you to find something that only appeals to chief marketing officers, in your given country. The ones that are a lot more simple to launch are typically people that have some sort of consumer-facing product. So, we've seen, people like Affliction Clothing or, DeWalt or dollar stores. We've seen all the different kinds of consumer-facing brands have a ton of success without having to think too hard. Like I said, I'm not saying it's impossible for B2B ad. We've seen it work, but it usually requires a little more diligence and creativity when it comes to what the prize is going to be and how you're going to get it in front of those people.
Yeah.
Is that sort of what you were asking? I mean, I realize that there's obviously different marketplaces in between that, but for the most part, I mean, everyone as humans likes to win free stuff for the most part. It just comes down to what that type of person is and how you're going to reach them.
Yeah, totally. No, makes perfect sense.
Now, as far as the software contest domination goes, are there any additional benefits or features that you'd like to mention that maybe we didn't cover here previously in the interview?
The big things that people sort of ask about, is does this integrate with my autoresponder? Most of the majors we're already integrated with. We do have some stuff that we don't talk about that much, which is actually we create a fraud score for people that enter. So if someone's trying to game the system and so we actually have sort of these fingerprints of different ways people sometimes try to game our system, and a lot of it actually automatically gets banned because we've identified the stuff that's really obvious. Mm-hmm. But we also have a strong way to review people that look suspicious and come up with a pretty high confidence interval of whether that was actually gamed or if it was legitimately shared, say, to an email list. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I don't think many contest platforms do a good job at, that we've really put a lot of time into. My business partner, his prior company was actually enterprise billing. So he has sort of a history of being able to look at web traffic and deciding, if there's something suspicious going on there or not.
Right.
And the other thing is, we make it easy to install the contest where you want to install it, but more importantly, we make it easy to pick a winner, and we try to be as receptive as possible to good ideas for new feature requests. Of course, we take everything into account when we're launching new features and products, but I would say that if you asked any of our customers, most of them would probably tell you we've been much more receptive to learning from our community and what they're doing that's working and trying to implement that in more effective ways for them from the software side than probably most companies. So
that sounds good. So where can people follow along with you, and do you have any final parting words for us today?
So, of course, people can, link up with us, by signing up for a 7-day free trial, no credit card required, at contestdomination.com. We also have a free ebook that's the 10 Steps to Success for contest marketing, and I'll be happy to provide you with the link if you don't mind including that.
Yeah,
in the show
absolutely.
notes afterwards. And the parting words were, and I've told you this before, Spencer, is the biggest thing, regardless of what your strategy is or what platform you're planning to use. The most important thing to find success from anything is to just get started.
Absolutely.
Dive on in, and actually start pushing that needle forward. It's so easy for us to get excited about ideas, and then you put it on the list of to do, and then a year passes or 2 year passes. I mean, you and I have known each other for years, even.
Yep.
And I haven't done as good a job with SEO as I could have, and I'm sure I've hopefully inspired you for some contest stuff. So
yep, absolutely.
Just get started. That's the biggest thing.
There you go.
Yeah, that's great advice. Definitely just get started. Taking action. I mean, that's how you're going to learn the process of really anything most effectively. And so I am, I'm going to say this on the podcast, I am inspired to do my own contest now. And so my audience can sort of hold my feet to the fire. Perrin can make sure that I actually follow through with this now and hold a contest, because it sounds like a great way to generate leads. And of course, contest domination is a great way to manage that entire process. So, Travis, I just want to thank you once again for coming on the podcast here. We appreciate your time.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot.